DJ Event Planner will change the way you manage and run your business. Streamline all of your procedures and software into one easy-to-manage system. DJ Event Planner, the ultimate online planning tool.
Good evening, everyone. I'm not Jeremy Brech. I just want to get that out there. I know this could be easily construed as Jeremy Brech. I was thinking
that would be interesting.
Yeah, that would be interesting. For those
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Wedding Chat. I am Dave Ternier. And for real, legit, I am Dave Ternier.
He is the man, and Dave's going to be carrying the heavy lifting tonight because I'm filling in for Jeremy, who is on a family vacation. And Dave, I don't know how cold it is in your neck of the woods, but in our neck of the woods, schools are closing tomorrow because of the cold. Jeremy is not too far away from me. And right now, on vacation, he's much, much, much warmer.
Wait. I'm still stuck on the comment you just made about tonight Dave is going to be carrying the weight. I'm sorry. How is that different from most nights on this show? Oh, I'm sorry, Jeremy.
I've watched those shows. I know what he's saying.
Sorry, I'm just going to get the live feed up here so I can follow people's comments as they guffaw at my my little silly comment there. Anyway, we're going to... John and I are going to have a little conversation.
Yeah, have some fun tonight. So let's tonight's topic, we're going to be talking about the concept of getting what you're worth. And the man behind that in the DJ industry is a man by the name of Mark Farrell. If you haven't had a chance to check out Mark Farrell, I think there's something missing in your life.
Potentially.
No, yes. I really don't. I think so. Because even the people who are critics of Mark Farrell, and there are people out there who are critics, most of them who have met him have come to have a level of respect. They may not his message, but the person behind and the people behind with Mark and Rebecca, they're people that touch people's lives and change people's lives in maybe not even a business way, but just because of who they are.
That's right. Yeah, and the reason we're chatting about this tonight is. As many of you know, I'm one of the leadership members of this Canadian Professional Disc Jockey Association here in Canada. And last night, Mark was gracious enough to spend some time with about 100 of us who were live participating, which is a huge number for what we do up here. And he was really gracious at this time when we spoke about worth and the challenge of worth and new perspectives to understand worth. And I mean, to many who know Mark, these are topics that he's been discussing for, my God, 25 years now.
Yeah.
And we're still talking about this, which is pretty remarkable. I mean, much like you said, there are some individuals who might clash a little bit with the message, but only one person has been saying any one message for 25 years. Nobody else has lasted as long as this man has. And that on its own merit should say something about, how committed this man is to this message and the fact that there's enough people receiving that message to provide him with the oxygen that he maintains this dream of, fair pay for DJs and, a DJ getting what he or she is worth because, when people spend $1,200 on those chair covers and, they spent twice as much on that as they did the DJ, boy, that sure puts things into perspective. And he's the one that reminds us of that every single time.
Exactly. Yeah. The very first message, 25 years. Mark, I think the very first time was like 1998, somewhere in that ballpark, 98, 99, when I heard him mention this for the first time. And he came out with that statement of the veggie platter, be worth more than the veggie platter.
Right.
And, he had buttons and things made in the coming years, but it was such an eye-opening experience because we had never thought of that at that particular time. So it was an eye-opening experience, and carrying a message for 25 years, that's highly incredible, even outside of our industry.
It really is. And I mean, again, if you don't like Mark, that's fine. That's your prerogative. You can make these decisions. But if I have, in any way, if I've said anything that made you go, oh, I never thought of it that way. If I have, the only reason you even know about me is because of Mark.
Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot of us that way because, my personal story, we had our multi-system. We were getting to that point where if we wouldn't have gone and been involved with the first mobile beat, and we haven't, and when I say involved, we went as attendees. And seeing Mark Farrell, I'd have probably been 2 or 3 more years in the industry, gotten out of it, and that would have been the end of it.
Right.
So,
I was at the time, actually going to go photography. I don't even know if you know this, John.
No, I don't.
I ended up getting into photography. And
that's why your selfies look so good.
What's that?
That's why your selfies look so good.
Well, I do have a real love for fine art photography. I've got some other. Nothing's on the wall here right now.
No, your walls are pretty plain, except for the Michael Jackson. I think that's over your shoulder.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But
I took that.
I ended up photographing 6 weddings,
mm-hmm.
and was really proud of the work I created there. But I didn't want to be an average so and so, regardless of what direction I went. So I was either if I was gonna go photography, I was gonna be high level, high art photography for weddings. But it was when I was doing kind of both for a little while is when I first heard about this message of, God, there's people getting paid $3,000 to DJ a wedding. Are you kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
And as I heard and learned more about that, I'm like, well, okay, I'm not going to do both of these halfway. I'm going to do one of them all the way. And because I already had, a decade plus experience in the mobile DJ world, I'm like, well, obviously I'm going to go this way. So yeah, no, it's, if whether you like the message that Mark communicates or not, I'm only speaking to you today because of that message, because nobody would have heard of me. I wouldn't be involved in leadership. I wouldn't have anything to give were it not for this message that that impacted me in the way that it has. And, what I really loved about last night's call when Mark, so graciously spent some time with us here in Canada, he, yesterday happened to be my birthday. So the moment our call was done last night, I'm like, okay, devices off. Like I'm heading upstairs, spend the rest of the evening visiting with my wife, and I was tired as hell because I went on a big bike ride yesterday. Anyway, I woke up this morning to an absolute blast of notifications.
Yep.
And those notifications told me that Mark still has the impact today that he did when I first saw him anyway, 9 years ago. Yeah, 2011 was when I first saw him speak. And that was just really remarkable. And I've since sent a few messages to Mark, copy and pasting, saying, Mark, look at this. Like you did this. And it's remarkable. No pun intended.
Yeah, that's what you did there. So for those of you following along, Dave has already given you one little tip, one little component of the concept of being worth more than the average DJ, being worth more than that. And a few minutes ago, Dave mentioned the idea that he was in photography and he also had experience in the DJ, and he wasn't going to basically do both at an average level.
Right.
That you were going to focus to be extraordinary and putting your time and effort into growing that part of your business, a part that you are skilled at, but you could grow and take it to a whole new level. And I think that's
and I don't know, maybe are the people like me who Mark's message really resonates with, maybe are we that unique fringe part of our industry maybe that wants to strive for really exceptional excellence? I don't know. I guess I never really thought of it that way, but yeah, I was maybe like maybe even just prior to hearing Mark, maybe I was already somewhat of that mindset. I didn't want to be average. I wanted to be, not top dog, but I wanted to be exceptional at whatever I was going to do. And it's funny because I didn't really. God, now you really got me thinking, John.
Sorry, I didn't mean
to drill back a little bit further. Where the heck would that have come from? I mean, I had prior to that point in time, or should I say up until that point in time, I had worked in sales at a mid to high end furniture store. We were a furniture store that we were in an independently owned place, and we sold very honestly, in so much as if we were selling a piece of furniture to a customer that wasn't exceptional quality. I mean, I'll use Ashley Furniture as an example. They're probably the most recognizable name in furniture, at least today.
Yes.
When I was in furniture 15 years ago is when they were growing into this massive company they are now. But Ashley Furniture, this is a great example to use actually. Ashley Furniture, whenever we sold Ashley Furniture, we always sold it to people and we said these exact words. Here's the thing you need to know about Ashley Furniture. Ashley Furniture is a 6 dressed up as a 9. So Ashley Furniture is not meant to last 40 years like your grandparents' sofa did.
Right.
Because it's not designed for that consumer. Ashley Furniture is designed for the consumer who wants something that looks exceptional, but in 5 or 6 years, they're going to be bored and they want to change it out. And because of the type of store we were, we sold Ashley Furniture, but we also sold other really incredible stuff. I mean, we had your, $800, $500 Ashley sofa, but then we also had, your $2,500, your $3,000, your $3,500 Dutalier sofa. And so we always were very conscious to draw a comparison between the two and say, we just want you to know what you're getting. So I don't know, I guess maybe that strive to be something, of a little higher caliber. Maybe that came from those furniture store days. I don't know. I mean, we loved selling the really high quality stuff because we were really proud of it.
And maybe that pride is part of what drove you to that area, is because the pride, the satisfaction you got from selling something that you were proud to, that people who would invest in it were going to be happy with it because it would give them what they need. So that probably, that pride part carried over, because now you want to give them the absolute best, and you want to be proud of that service that you're offering them. And of course, what Mark did for a lot of us is he opened our eyes to say, you can offer that type of service. You can treat people take things to a higher level, because as an entertainer and as a professional, the things you can bring to the table at that level are worth way, way more than what people have been, experiencing in the markets.
Right. That's true. It's I mean, I guess moving on from that, the things that Mark spoke about last night are things I'm sure many people have heard Mark speak about. I mean, comparing, the work that you do to, what some people might consider menial jobs, I mean, Mark loves to use the example of In-N-Out Burger, of course, the popular California-based restaurant chain, where the managers of those locations, I think he said, starting wage is $160,000 a year. And, looking at other industries, not because what we do is the same as them, but just looking at what other industries get paid for, a work that you may or may not think is, more complex than what you do. And what we do is relatively complex.
Certainly.
I mean, Mark, brought up the notion that, if your clients were to, rent just the equipment from the venue, what would they pay? And, DJs will sometimes push back and go, well, I can go down the street and get that same gear for $300. But yeah, you can. But if a client calls the hotel and says, hey, banquet manager, get me a couple speakers, give me something, it's not going to be $300. Don't kid yourself. And I have evidence of that, because I once had to travel to a wedding a couple airplane rides away from where I live, and I couldn't bring any of my gear. So I had to hire the stuff from the venue. I paid exactly $1,250 for a pair of Bose L1s and a wireless microphone, a mixer, and a lighting tree with 4 flashing panels on it. I paid $1,250 for that. So, that's always a good reminder that, I mean, it's a sad joke, but what's the cheapest way to rent a sound system, right?
Yeah.
Hire a DJ.
Hire a DJ, yeah. And unfortunately, that's in every market has that. So it's just
they do.
sad reality.
Now, I want to, unless you have something else to say, I want to jump into something here.
Yeah, no, go right ahead. I'll play off. I've got a few different directions, and it'll match up at some point in time. I'm pretty sure of that.
Sounds good. One of the questions that came up last night while we were having this really great discussion with Mark, and I just want to say, if anybody missed it, I mean, if you're a member of the association, you can find the recording of it in members only area. But it was a really positive conversation. Nobody got excited in a negative way.
Nice.
Nobody got their back up. It was really, really positive, which doesn't always happen when you have a worth-themed conversation going on. But one of the comments that did come up a couple of times was, look, how am I supposed to, sell for serious dollars when, Joe or Sally down the street is hiring themselves up for $100?
Mm-hmm.
And in my email inbox this morning landed an article that I wish would have come yesterday, because I would have shared this on last night's call. For those who don't follow her blog, Lynn Stevens runs a website called Think Splendid, and she runs statistics on an annual basis, and she's a thought leader in the special event world. And she writes this great blog. And she has a blog post that came out today, originally published about 8 years ago, but she republished it today, called "Why People Hire the Mediocre Company Instead of Yours."
Okay.
And it's a great, great blog post. I'm not sure if we can share the link anywhere, but just
yep, I can. I'm just trying to find it here. If I can.
Here, I'll shoot it over to you in chat, John, and you can do whatever you like with it. But
I've got it right here. I found it first one up here today.
Easy to find, perfect. Yeah, it's called "Why People Hire the Mediocre Company Instead of Yours." And I implore people to read through this blog post, the whole thing. I'm not going to read it for you right now, but the gist of it is this: everybody wants what everyone wants because humans are pack animals, and I'm quoting her. And we associate safety with numbers. That's why mediocrity sells, because it's familiar. It's what most people know. Okay? So if you want people to be hiring you for higher dollars, a higher level of service, the great talent that you bring to the table, you need to get other people in your region doing that too, so that what you're doing becomes familiar.
Sure.
And as I was reading this blog post, she sums it up in the final paragraph and says, you need more legitimately good competitors producing legitimately good work and showing it off. Sharing what you know and working to leave the industry better than you found it will almost always come back to benefit you in the long run. You need to help ensure that better options are common.
Mm-hmm.
And as I was reading this, I mean, every other industry has already done this. A $4,000, $5,000 wedding photographer is common, right?
Yes.
A $3,000 wedding planner is common. That's what enables those industries to have the varying levels of pricing with people successfully earning what they're worth at those levels. Yeah, if you're in a region where everybody is $500 and you want to be $2,500, the best way for you to get that $2,500 is get two or three of those other people charging the same.
Mm-hmm.
Make it common. And I'll zip it for a quick minute. I thought that was just the whole idea of everyone buys mediocrity because it's familiar is so true.
Oh, certainly it is. It is. And I think not only having a more common price, you're getting it closer in range to that, but also I think having a better quality service is probably the other side of it. And here's where Jeremy would have been a great fit for this, is because you look at that Sioux Falls market, and there are some people, Jeremy as among others down there, who have really upped the game in that market. And and what they've done is incredible. And you don't see that happening in a lot of markets, but you have some very quality, dedicated professionals down there in the entertainment world who are really kind of setting the trend for not only their market, but other markets.
Yeah.
That makes it
it's so true. I mean, as I finished reading, Lynn's blog post here, I immediately thought of what, Brian Podverney and Ronnie Mohanraj and many of the other great people in this area of Western Manitoba have done.
Mm-hmm.
And I've often referred to, and it's not my line, it's from, I'm not sure where, but a rising tide lifts all boats.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But a rising tide, but I'm now, it's more nuanced than that. A rising tide, creates a new familiar as well. And that's an important point that I guess I hadn't thought of with the clarity I am now since reading this blog post. What Brian and Ronnie and myself and others in this region have created is we've created that high level service is normal.
Mm-hmm.
And you just have to pick your normal now. You might be a part of this normal. You might be a part of this normal. That's okay. But because we've made it common, it's now something people pause to consider.
Sure.
They're not just looking for the cheapest person anymore.
Mm-hmm. So. And I think the whole concept of them calling and saying, oh, we're just looking for a basic wedding isn't like it would have been 20 years ago. It's right. Because now they have experienced things that are more than just a basic wedding. Now they understand why having someone behind the microphone who can speak intelligently and direct traffic and engage the guests, why that matters.
Yeah.
And it wasn't something that they would have thought of 10 years ago. They'd have been like, oh.
Not at all. Not at all.
You have a microphone for the head table? Yep. Okay, great. And sound? Yep. Dance 4 hours? Yep. Okay, great. How much?
Who here knows exactly what the hell that conversation goes?
We've been there, done that.
Lots of people, I'm sure. Lots of people. So yeah, I mean, obviously the next question is, okay, Dave, I've got those 3 or 4 people in my market who are willing to up the level. What do we do next? I mean, as John, you said earlier, you've got to be what you're worth. That's next. You've got to be something really, really worth paying for.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think you have to be that because your pride in the job done is so mm-hmm. critical for not only success of the initial event, but success of the future events. If you don't have that, mm-hmm. people will see right through you, and then
that's right.
And then you're dead in the water.
Yeah, and I was having a conversation on Facebook with somebody earlier today, and they mentioned unsure if they're going to go to the DJ conference because it'd be about $2,000 in or so to make that happen.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the comment was, and if you're watching, my friend, I'm not calling you out because you and I have since evolved that conversation. He's now thinking about coming to Vegas.
Yeah.
But his initial thought was, gosh, I could buy a lot of gear for that.
Oh yeah, certainly.
And I said, yeah, you could. And gear's important, but as important as gear is, the return on investment on education and training has paid me more in the long term. And it's allowed me to buy better gear.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So it's, in that case, I think it's a bit of a, putting the cart before the horse. The cart in this case is the gear, and the horse is the talent and education and the self-improvement. And you can't put one in front of the other because anybody can get gear.
It's amazing the number of times you hear that type of story. Not picking on a person, but the idea that gosh, I could invest that money in a new this. I could buy my new this, and then I could be charging more that way. And it's like 2/3 of the room at any DJ convention thought that at one time. Maybe mm-hmm. 3/4 of the room. Now could even be higher. Now there are some out there who will go to a convention. They'll arrive. They'll go party in Vegas. They'll stay out late. They'll maybe hit a session here. They'll hit the exhibit hall, and that's it. Those people are like, yeah, it's the education's. I don't get much out of the show. Yeah, you're right. You won't if you do the shows that way. And at the end of the show, I will. That Thursday, I could probably go through and I'll point to a dozen people who did that. And you get out of it what you put into it to a point. Mm-hmm. If you're going to go and participate, network, spend time introducing yourself to Jeremy and Dave and myself and any number of people who will be there. And ask questions a little bit about, hey, what's it like? How do you do? What do you think? And the biggest problem I think that DJs have when they get into these things is they like to try to tell us how great they are and how much, and it's like, I'm not that good at what I do. Why I'm successful is because people like me and I can do a really good job at what I do, but I'm not the greatest by any means. I'm not going to sit
I agree with myself. Yeah, same with me.
But I'm going to, when I go there, I'm not going to talk about myself unless someone asks questions. I want to find out how Dave, what's going on with Dave's business, what's new, what's hot, what's been working, what kind of connections with the people, his clients and such. That's the kind of stuff I want to find out and talk about, because that's where I'm going to learn, is going and asking those questions. And then when there's two of us who are going to ask questions like that, we get into absolutely nowhere. So that's when we have to have Jeremy there so we can ask questions, and he'll just answer questions.
In the chat, David Wolf says, I had a venue owner say to me, quote, DJs are not as popular anymore. Most people will just want to plug their phone into our sound system. And David says, of course, I don't think so. That, I think, says something about what Lynn was talking about.
I would agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah, in that case, in where that venue is, mediocrity is probably the most common thing. So because that's familiar, he's actually right in that maybe a DJ is not going to be as popular anymore. What needs to happen, and not talking just to you, David, but to everybody, what needs to happen is, you need to help your competition become really, really good.
Yeah.
So that together you can all create a new level that isn't mediocrity, but it's 3 or 4 or 8 steps up from that. And you need to get the community talking about that, so that when people book a wedding, the maid of honor says to the bride to be, okay, so are you just going to book a DJ, or are you going to go with company X, Y, or Z? Because wow, they're incredible. That's the conversation you need to create in your market. And how you do that primarily is talent development of yourself. And if you've got staff members, that's, of course, this extends to them. And, just small plug here, but, Mark and Rebecca Farrell, a lot of performance training workshops have come and gone, even over my 10 years in this kind of greater industry. John, a lot longer for you. You've seen a lot more workshops come and go, right? Their workshops are the only ones that have stuck and been available year after year after year. But it blows my mind that they're not all sold out right now. If they were all sold out, to everybody watching this call, mediocrity would be an option in your market, because there'd be something else going on.
Certainly.
If all of these workshops were sold out, you wouldn't be complaining as much as you are right now.
I think there's 2 facets when you getting back to your statement about the rising tides without raising all boats. There's 2 ways. It takes getting to know and really kind of help build up those in your market. You can do that by getting together and having networking meetings and talking and sharing ideas and working that way, which in some areas works really well. You get a team of 5 or 6, 10 companies that may get together, and not that you're going to synchronize your charging, because that's not where we're headed here, but together you can learn and grow. And 10 people together can bring in or have get together and have Mark come in via conference or something. There's ways to do things. But in some situations, you might have some competitors that maybe you don't have that. So in that case, you can't learn together that way. But now it becomes there's this really cool thing in Vegas. Let's both go down there and let's go experience this training session in Vegas, or this training session in Milwaukee, or this training session in wherever. Encouraging them and being a cheerleader for these people. Yeah, you may not trust them to be your best buddy. They don't have to be your best buddy, but you also have a little bit of interest in their success, because if they're successful and able to raise their rates and raise their quality, it's only going to come back to you in time, because it becomes easier for you to be that way also.
And it becomes normal. It becomes common.
Yeah.
It becomes common. Yeah, 100%. You just said something a moment ago, and then it left my brain.
Sorry.
Oh, that was what I was going to say. John says, you don't want to all align your pricing and go up from there. We don't want to advocate that. No, we don't want to advocate that. What you want to do is you want to beat each other on price. Okay? If you hear company X is going to $1,500 starting, you want to go, you think you got me beat? And you're going to go to 18. You want to leapfrog each other, race to the top. It's what Brian Puckburney from Expressions Entertainment and I did. And it was remarkable. The confidence you get from somebody else saying, oh my God, Dave, I sold the last 2 inquiries at $1,800. And you go, bloody hell, fine then. And you go from 15 to 21 because the fact that they were able to sell for those dollars that confidence spills over to you.
Yes.
At least it did for me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, going back to something you mentioned just a moment ago about, getting DJs together and that type of thing. Look, if you've tried and you've not gotten response to it, that's not necessarily because it's not possible. But not everybody has the personality to gather people.
Very true. That's a great point.
And this is not a negative comment on any personality type. Mm-hmm. My wife is not one to gather people. Okay, so other people though, they do have some uncanny ability to bring people together. Mm-hmm. That might not be you. So if you've tried to get people together in your region and it hasn't worked, don't just say it doesn't work, because maybe you just weren't the person to make that happen. And again, don't take offense to this, but maybe you can enable somebody else in your region to be that person that gathers, because it does take a unique personality type to make that happen.
It certainly does.
And I mean, in my role, at national with the Canadian Professional Disc Jockey Association, we have a lot of regional team leaders across the country that gather, local members together for networking nights and education and so on and so forth. And because of that, I have a unique perspective on, that person, they're really good at gathering people. That person, and not so much. Yeah. Now, they have other skills that maybe we need to shift them into another part of the association to better utilize their skills. But I guess I say that because I've seen that from the top down. Mm-hmm. Some have that ability to gather people and some don't. And it just means they're maybe not suited, they're not in the right role. And so, if you've tried, just don't think it's not possible. Maybe you just need to find that person who can be that gatherer type individual. And
that's a great point, because they're talking a little bit in the chat room about that. I think that struggles where they're headed to. That doesn't mean that the thing can't work, but and Brent, I think someone mentioned that they had gotten together. It might be one of those situations that I may not be good at getting a group together, but I have a passion for the industry and I want to see people come together. And now I need to go and find that person and recruit them. And that's Brent said the roadmap to how to get there. There is a map, and many of us have taken it. And Chris even refers to it that they have been on that trail. It's not a 6-month thing. This is a 3-year process. Getting to finding that person. Finding that person who can get people together, getting them together, building a level of trust, finding out who you're going to be able to connect the best with, because you're not going to hit it off with everybody. That's okay. But finding out who those people are that can be challenged, can be pushed, can be asked to do more than what is typical in the market right now. And once you find those people, then to help grow with them and help them grow. Mm-hmm.
It's 100%.
It takes time. It's time.
Quick shout out to a comment Chris Hintz wrote. Chris, great to see that you're watching here tonight. Be a connector, like in the Go Giver, right, Dave? If anybody here has not read the Go Giver or even just consumed the audiobook, it's like a 100-page book. One of the most transformative books in my life. I heard it about 5 years ago, and I've never listened to an audiobook like 3 or 4 times in like 10 days. It was insane. It was just ridiculous. But yeah, Chris, you're absolutely right. Some people are connectors and some people aren't. So when I was talking about the conversation of, gathering people, yes, some people are connectors and some people are not.
Don't, for those of you who are not connectors, don't beat yourself up about that. It's an understanding that some people have that ability and some people don't. We all have skills to be mature enough, and I'm going to say it that way, and we'll leave it at that, to understand that, hey, that's not my strength. I'm not going to be the best person in this position. But boy, once we find the right person for that, we can do great things.
Right. Yeah. Very, very true. Very, very true. Scott makes a comment about egos are a little too big in his area to get DJs together. That can certainly play into it. Yeah. What I've really found with the CPDGA, at least, is community building takes a long time, and it can take longer with some people than it does with others.
I would agree.
You can't rush it. And when I say community building, that may sound like a flu word, but all that basically means is building relationships. I think DJs have a default mode where they bring their ego to the door because they feel protected by it, because in this industry, they've often felt like they have to have a guard up.
Mm-hmm.
I think that can be sometimes misconstrued for ego as well. And sometimes that guard is up because they're just afraid of being, abused in some sense like they have before. Maybe when, all the DJs in the area treated them like crap or who knows what. So it can take a while to build a relationship, to build community with people so that they start to leave that outside the door when they come in to have conversations like these.
Sure. Yeah. But, to give an idea on the process and such, in the late 90s and early 2000s, we started working towards building this MAP DJ, which was the Minnesota Association of Professional DJs. It started out with a few people getting together and then a few more. And we were having meetings with 50-some people on a regular basis. It took for us to go, from zero to having it where we were having an effect on the market, where we were having people who now were charging $1,200, $1,500, $2,000. That was probably 5 years into the process.
Yeah.
And part of it was the trust factor, getting to know people and realize that, okay, I'm actually truly going to, that's what I charge. It's not like I'm going to tell you that I charge $2,000 and then I'm going to be charging everyone $600. Those are the kind of things we had to get past in time, that we had built that trust and such. And then as we learned together, shared thoughts and ideas together, people started to really realize that, hey, I do some things really, really well. I'm learning some new things to add to my repertoire. And these guys are at a level, I can be at that level or a little bit higher. And it really became a neat thing to experience in that early to mid 2000s as DJ companies went from an average of $600 a show to $800 to $1,200. And at the end, one of the companies that started at that $400 range, their contracts the last year that I was involved with the thing were $1,500 to $2,000 just for the DJ service side of it. So they jumped up almost 4 times the amount with a multi-system company. So it takes time. It's not a quick fix by any means.
Yeah, it certainly isn't. You've got to invest in talent development, though. You can't just practice without somebody watching what you're doing and working on that, and vocal skills. Using your voice in a microphone as a mobile DJ, as an MC, is going to be the greatest differentiator. I mean,
yes.
To the comment that most people just want to plug their iPods in or their phones into their sound system. Creating common in your market that includes somebody who's just an incredibly polished master of ceremonies means that nobody considers the iPhone anymore.
Right.
Because an iPhone is not going to do that.
Not even close.
And if you want to future-proof yourself in this world of automation that we are, on a breakneck speed toward, develop the human side of your skills. Don't do things that a machine is going to be able to do way better than all of us a decade from now.
Mm-hmm.
I know a whole pile of eyes just rolled there, but this thing here did not exist 11 years ago.
Yeah.
The iPhone was 10 years old last year. 11 years ago, if I would have told you I was going to hold this in my hand and it would do all of it does, you would have rolled your eyes too.
I'd have laughed at you.
Right?
I've got my CDs in back here. You just keep talking, funny man.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So anyway, that's what I have to say on that. Go out and get what you're worth, people, and come and see me in Las Vegas at the DJNTV show that's co-locating with Photo Booth Expo, because I'd love to fill every moment of time if I could with somebody having a conversation about this. But I only want you to bring you to that table with me if you're willing to act on some of what we will discuss. Please And not because of my time. You're not going to waste my time. You don't have the power over me. Nobody can waste my time. I do what I want with my time, but I don't want you wasting your time with me.
Sure.
Because I am going to suggest probably some pretty big courses of action, depending on where you're at in your journey. So if anybody wants to get together, would love to make that happen. But please come in with that mindset. It's not going to be easy. Why? Because this isn't easy.
Exactly.
If
Nothing.
If you want it easy, carry on doing what you're doing.
Exactly. Yep. Stay the same. Average is much easier than exceptional.
It is indeed. It is indeed. Well, John, there you go.
Yeah. Good show. Thank you much for your passion and such with our topic tonight.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Thanks so much, everybody. And I don't know if we'll see you in 2 weeks or not. I'll be in Vegas.
We'll be in Vegas. We might see if we can do a little blurb from Vegas or something. Have some fun down there.
Cool. Sounds great.
All right.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Good night, everybody.